And begin and welcome everyone. We still probably have people signing in, so we understand that. I would just like to run through a couple points. We will be having our speakers as panelists. Therefore, there won't be any question and answer period. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. I do have some senator time frames that I have to be careful about, so we'll move things along. Most of you know who I am. I'm Jennifer Harris, MLA Legislative Committee co-chair, in addition to Will Adamczak, who's also the co-chair. We want to thank you for joining us today. This has been an experience, our second year where we've had to go virtual. We have every hopes that next year we will be at the State House in Boston, and probably might do a little combination, as we have found attendance increased by the fact that people didn't have to get in their car or take a bus and drive into Boston, although that's a magnificent experience. And certainly we all miss having gotten to drive into Boston over the last year. I will say that. I would like to take a moment to thank the Legislative Committee in particular. We have a subcommittee who's been working on our virtual legislative day, but this is an opportunity for you to see how we do. If you are interested at all in upping your advocacy with your legislators, the MLA Legislative Committee is the place to join. So let either Will or I know if you're interested. I would also like to take a moment to thank the individual representatives who are here. I'm going to run through a list. They might be signing in and signing off. So if I miss anyone, please add to the chat. We do have someone monitoring that. So I have Representative Brian Ash. I have Representative John Barrett, Senator Joanne Comerford. We have Representative Mindy Dahm, Representative Pat Duffy. We have an AJ Enchil, who is an aide at Senator Hines' office. We have Michael Flynn. I have Senator Ann Goby, Senator Lesser, who is one of the co-hosts. He is having a happy event, so he will be unable to attend, but he is one of our proudly active co-chairs for the Library Legislative Caucus at the State House. We have Representative Jake Oliveira. We have Representative Kelly Pease, Representative Lindsay Sabadosa, Representative Schifoletti, Representative Angelo Pupolo Jr., I believe one of his aides, Gia Varlato, is here, and Representative Joseph Wagner. So please feel free to update me if I've missed anyone. I know there are times when attendees like to say a welcome to their individual representatives, so you can do that through the chat function. And I do want to take a second just to say how important today's event truly is. We've been through one very, very challenging years. I could use other words to describe the pandemic. But throughout the year, many libraries in different communities either lost staff, they lost budgets, they had to close. I know one of the saddest events in my life was driving out of the parking lot on March 18th last year with the building closed and no one in the parking lot. We have since been able to get active again and bring back curbside. Curbside, I believe, saved the libraries and the community. We have many libraries whose doors are open. Everyone's handling things in very different ways by communities. We learned that lesson, that the communities are all handling things differently, but the message is still the same and extremely important today. And that is that libraries need to be in our communities for our patrons. We are the house of democracy. People will walk through our doors, maybe not as many right now. And but our job, our role as librarians, who the communities love, need to have those doors open. Everyone needs to stay healthy, and let's hope that we come out of this with libraries even stronger. So thank you for your patience with me. And now I would like to introduce our welcoming guest. And I'm going to say it's Tony Goblinski-Foisy will be welcoming us for WMLA. Golinsky, my apologies.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, Tony.
Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be the panelist, one of the panelists at the 2021 Virtual Library Legislative Day, and to know today's event is attended by individuals who believe in the power and importance of libraries. I'm speaking on behalf of WMLA, or Western Mass Library Advocates, an organization comprised of a 14-member executive board with a membership of individuals who support libraries in Berkshire, Franklin, Hampden, and Hampshire counties. Legislative Day is a very important event for us. It's an opportunity to reach out to our legislators and local elected officials to inform them of the essential funding needs of the public libraries. Line item 7000-9501, state aid to public libraries, is indispensable to our existence because state funding is actually local aid. The goals of WMLA are to advocate for strong and sustained library funding as libraries are important cornerstones of a healthy community. Inform legislators, local and state officials of critical issues affecting libraries in Western Mass, promote library service and librarianship, provide accessible educational and networking opportunities for librarians and library workers, to support and provide social and educational programs, and encourage interest in programs happening in Western Mass. Libraries in all 4 of our counties use state aid to benefit their users, simply put. Berkshire County, the Berkshire Athenaeum in Pittsfield, the director, Alex Rakowski, purchases books, electronic resources to stream videos, Chromebooks to circulate to the community, staff development, and increase building accessibility. Franklin County, the M.N. Spear Memorial Library is located in a very small town of Shutesbury of 1,800 people and spends state aid on new books, audiobooks, DVDs, and expanded digital resources. And Director Marianne Antonellis emphasized that their local demand for new materials is high, as well as circulation of physical items is high. And without state aid, it would be very difficult to provide access to educational and enriching materials for their community every day. Hampden County, the South Hadley Public Library, spends state aid on programming by artists, authors, and presenters, new technology and online resources, local history preservation, and areas that are not budgeted for. And Director Joe Rodeo states that this money allows us to keep our library relevant and responsive to our community. Hampshire County, Jones Library in Amherst, Director Sharon Sherry shares that state aid is used for annual personnel costs as the town does not fund 100% of library employee wages. And this allows the library to provide services 7 days a week. In East Hampton, the Emily Williston Memorial Library and Museum, Director Nora Blake emphasized that state aid is used solely for purchasing new items for collections as funding for the municipality is low. And WMLA offers to our members the following because we feel the advocacy for the vital role of our libraries is so very important to our users, especially in this time of recovery for the Commonwealth and the nation. We coordinate and sponsor legislative breakfasts in local libraries, which provide an opportunity to meet with our elected legislators, local officials, trustees, friends, members of the community, and neighboring libraries. We charter a bus in normal times to Beacon Hill for Library Legislative Day to bring librarians and library staff from Western Mass to the State House to advocate for libraries. We collaborate with local businesses, amusement parks, zoos, museums, the Big E, and other venues for reduced price or free tickets or passes for families whose children participate in the annual summer reading program. So an increase in state aid line item 7,9501 plus cost of living in other lines is the equalizer among community libraries. We're spreading the word that libraries rebuild lives and communities, and this is why you can rely on us. My deepest thanks to the sponsors, Mass Library Association and Massachusetts School Library Association, and all of our attendees who continue to advocate for libraries. It's been my honor and my pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I want to take a moment to also thank Representative Natalie Blaze, who's attending, and Representative Smitty Pignatelli, who will be one of the guest speakers after Senator Comerford. But at this point, I'm going to move the program to James Lonergan, the Director of the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today to support state funding for libraries, including the budget lines of the MBLC and its affiliates, and for the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program. Thank you to everyone who organized this event. In the MBLC's new strategic plan, our mission statement stresses our role in leading the statewide system of libraries in order to provide every person in Massachusetts, no matter where they live, with equitable access to outstanding library services. It also stresses our role in advancing innovation and fostering resilience in libraries across the Commonwealth through funding, guidance, partnerships, and the coordination of statewide services. We do this working with our affiliates and partners, the Massachusetts Library System, the Boston Public Library in its role as the Library for the Commonwealth, the Perkins and Worcester Talking Book Libraries, the Massachusetts Center for the Book, and the 9 automated networks. As you can hopefully see from the fiscal 22 legislative agenda being displayed, we're again focusing on one item this year, our state aid to public libraries line 7,09501. Thank you to the legislators for increasing this line by just over $2 million for this current fiscal year to a total of $12 million. We are requesting an additional $1 million increase for this line for fiscal 22. State aid to public libraries is an annual voluntary program that we administer that distributes local aid to municipalities. Approximately 99% of the Commonwealth's libraries currently participate. It encourages municipal support and improvement of public library services, bolsters reciprocal resource sharing among libraries, compensates for differences in municipal funding capacities, and offsets costs to libraries that circulate materials to patrons from other certified municipalities. As you just heard from Tony, state aid to public libraries is local aid, and funds may be used in any way that supports the library. And these funds are essential to helping communities both during the COVID-19 crisis and in the economic recovery, and will be particularly important given the difficult budget situations that many municipalities are experiencing. During these challenging times, librarians and library staff are helping their patrons to find jobs, to apply for unemployment and other needed benefits, and to start and grow small businesses. Many libraries have also been providing wireless access outside their buildings while they have been either closed to the public or they've been offering restricted access. And they will again be a key and sometimes the only source of free community access to the internet when their facilities are fully open to the public again. Recent examples of how libraries use their state aid include updating technology, paying network membership fees, and expanding digital collections. In fact, e-content per network use has gone up over 40% on average since the beginning of the pandemic. Libraries that are state aid certified also have access to reciprocal borrowing of over 59 million items from other libraries, to the MBLC library construction grants, the Federal Library Services and Technology Act grants funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and to the MBLC's Small Libraries and Networks program, which provides libraries that serve communities with populations under 10,000 with funding to support their network memberships. Our agency's legislative agenda webpage, which is highlighted on our homepage, includes links to the fiscal 22 legislative agenda, which is available at mblclegislativeagenda.com, alloneword.com. Fact sheets for each of our affiliates that include updates on how they have responded to the COVID-19 pandemic, the top 5 reasons why you should care about the legislative agenda, the benefits of state aid, and more. We are requesting 3% increases for most of our other lines. However, a larger increase for the Massachusetts Center for the Book, $7,095.08, which had been level funded from fiscal 2016 through fiscal 2020, and just received an increase of $25,000 for this current fiscal year. On the capital side, thank you to the governor and to our legislators for supporting a new bond authorization of $115 million for the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program, which was approved last August. This new bond will fund the 17 projects on our wait list. We will seek funding to support our next construction grant round, for which over 40 municipalities have expressed strong interest in applying in the future. We've heard legislators say that if they don't hear from us, they might think things are fine. Please tell them your stories about how funding for the MBLC and its affiliates impacts your library users and communities. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I want everyone to realize that I believe the MBLC is really up their game for the legislative agenda. In the past, we've had printed out packets when we would be done with our legislative information at the State House. We would all go running off to our individual legislators with our packets. So things have changed. So this is your go-to Bible now, is the Mass Board of Library Commissioners FY 2022 legislative agenda page. So please familiarize yourself as you prepare to talk with your legislators after today's event. And at this point, I would like to move on and introduce Greg Pronovitz, who is representing the Massachusetts School Library Association. Thank you. Is Greg there? Okay, I don't see Greg. So we will, we've just run through what his briefing is.
I'm here now.
Oh, thank you,
Sorry.
Greg. Sorry.
I didn't know how to turn that on.
I was paddling like a wild swan on the water there on that one, so.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you, everyone. Good morning. The Mass School Library Association is proud to co-sponsor Legislative Day, as we have for years now. Our organization is the Massachusetts Professional Association for School Library Teachers. They perform work both as librarians and as certified teachers in their schools. We are striving to support equitable access to high-quality library services to support achievement for all Massachusetts students. Many library teachers have classes and groups of students in their libraries today and can't join us. But I am pleased to see that some have, and we thank you for doing that. And I thank all of the advocates and legislators who joined us today. Thank you for your support. The MSLA has enthusiastically endorsed the MBLC's library legislative agenda. While schools don't directly benefit from public state aid to public libraries, they do benefit indirectly in their communities. But school libraries especially benefit from the lines that support online content. School libraries are the heaviest users of state-funded online content. For example, online journals, scholarly articles, and other reference resources. These essential services were heavily used during hybrid and remote learning, and as they were heavily used during normal times before the pandemic. It's clear from usage statistics that school libraries with certified library teachers use these services most often. The cost of these services at the state level is not based on use, and in some ways, libraries that don't use them are not taking full advantage of the valuable service provided through state appropriations via the MBLC and MLS. This use pattern is also indicative of the inequities of school library services in the Commonwealth. A special legislative commission pointed out numerous inequities a couple of years ago. The MSLA has been asking for implementation of the recommendations of this report for 2 years now. Now that the pandemic is winding down enough to open schools for in-person learning, it's time to look at these inequities again. And we have a non-library legislative agenda priority for school libraries. We'd like to see a comprehensive census of school library services and resources in every public school and require the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, to gather these data annually. For example, physical space, staffing, staff certification, collections, and annual expenditures. Many districts and the state invest heavily in their school libraries, and there's no good accounting for which schools have school libraries, and we think this census would be a great step in addressing the inequities that have been pointed out by the Special Commission. We need to identify the schools where improvements are needed before they can be addressed properly. We ask for your support, and thank you for having the MSLA here today.
Okay, thank you, Greg. So at this point, I think our timing is working very well. Senator Joanne Comerford is joining us, and she's been kind enough. We kind of were scuffling at the last moment. So Senator, I'd like to introduce you, please. And welcome.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to say a brief welcome on behalf of my colleagues in the Senate. I love this Library Day. It has been a favorite since I took office. I'm really glad to be here and fill in for my good friend and colleague, Senator Lesser, who, as you all know, is just an absolute library champion. And I'm really glad to be here with really extraordinary colleagues, all of whom have 9501 emblazoned in our brains and our hearts because of your good advocacy. Jennifer rightly said at the beginning of the program, you know, that libraries are the house of democracy, and you never closed during this crisis time. You were always there for our people. So thank you so much to the Library Association and the Western Mass Library Advocates, the Massachusetts School Library Association, the Board of Library Commissioners, and all of the participants in today's program for your extraordinary, tireless work. Librarians go the distance. Libraries go the distance for our communities and our people. You always have, and you always will. So it's just an honor for me personally to be able to support your critical work. And now's the perfect time. Of course, your timing is as ever exquisite. This is the moment to call us to attend to the kind of budget priorities that you're enumerating today, and you will through your work. I'm sure you've said it before, and we should say it again, that budgets are nothing more, and this is of course thanks to Congresswoman Barbara Lee, budgets are nothing more than an expression of our values. We put our money where we value, we spend on what we value. And so we're called today to value the kind of services that you've provided over a lifetime, like many lifetimes in our Commonwealth, and going forward into this new world, this post-COVID world, where we're all called to build back better, build back stronger, reduce inequities that we saw ever present during COVID. And libraries are the top of the list for entities in our local communities who can get this kind of rebuilding work done. Some of you may know my mom was a public librarian and a school librarian. My sister is a public librarian now and a school librarian. So I was raised to know the promise, the beauty the incredible, strong and powerful place of libraries in our community. So speaking with you today is a little bit like coming home for me. And what you're talking about today, the way that people power works in the legislature is absolutely right. We work for you. We work on behalf of our libraries here in the legislature. And so you call us today to attend, and it's your kind of people power that will win the day for all of us. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Again, I'll send everybody's best wishes to Senator Lesser. I'm sure we wish him the very, very best, and all of our colleagues. I'm so grateful for their service. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Senator Comerford. You warm my heart, which takes a lot nowadays. So thank you for reminding us the good work that we're doing really is appropriate. And I do love talking to our legislators and senators and representatives, because they really are here for us. So thank you for such a strong statement. And now I would like to introduce Representative Smitty Pignatelli. I must admit, I haven't met him. So I hope in the future at our next State House Day that I'll get to meet him. And I'd like to introduce you. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. And you don't know what you're missing, never to have met me before, but I'm happy to be here to echo Senator Comerford about 9501. It's emblazoned on our foreheads. I'll take it one step further, Senator. Thanks to my good friends, Jan Resnick and Mary Kronholm. I actually got a tattoo, 9501, on my arm. So it's a constant reminder of what the libraries are really advocating for. But I'm really pleased to be here. And there's a lot of my colleagues on this call as well. I think Tony had mentioned earlier that libraries are going to be critical on the rebuilding of our communities after COVID. I'll take it one step further back. Obviously, my first classroom was in my house, where, with your mom and dad. But my first classroom outside of the home was the Lenox Library. It was so cool as young people to be able to walk up to town, actually go into this place filled with books, and actually borrow a book for free, take it home for about a week, and be able to read it. It just opened up all our young people's minds and horizons on possibilities of what we could do in the future. So I think libraries are a critical component to society, not only on the rebuilding, but on the establishment of a good, healthy community. I'll never forget my very first meeting after I was elected in 2002. Before I took office, I was invited to a meeting in the town of Blandford, and we actually met in the public library. So as Mary and Jan have known for a long time, I really view our libraries and our small towns especially, they act as community centers. They are community hubs of activity and engagement. And I think they're going to play a very important role going forward. Clearly, good news yesterday, revenues have exceeded expectations. The stimulus that's coming from the federal government is going to be very beneficial to the Commonwealth. But like Senator Comerford said, how we spend the dollars that we do have, what our priorities are going to be paramount on what we look like going forward. Clearly, it's going to be COVID and the economy, getting people back to work, getting people back to school, making sure people are protected and vaccinated. But I really believe personally that 9501 is an easy one to support, but it's also a recognition of the value that we place on libraries. In our Western Mass delegation, I'm so proud of each and every one of them. We actually band together on some very good initiatives, and I believe libraries are going to be one of those good initiatives this coming budget. The House budget will be coming out in another week or two. So I would encourage you all to be another set of eyes and ears for our colleagues to delve into the areas, bring it to our attention. We'll have about 2 days to file amendments to get this thing started. And I believe the last week of April, the House of Representatives will be in full debate on what our priorities are going to be going forward. And then it's off to the Senate. So we'll have plenty of bites at the apple over the next couple of months. But I'm very, very proud to tell you, and I'll commit to you right now, I will do whatever I can with my colleagues, the great colleagues of Western Mass, to recognize the value of libraries and how important they are, not only to how our communities got established, but what we will look like when this pandemic is over. So I'm honored to be here. I know I'm pinch hitting for Senator Hines, but I'm honored to be here, and you can count on my support. So keep up the good work, everybody.
Thank you so much, Representative Pignatelli. You did remind me by bringing up about the state of the budget that the House budget will come out in 2 weeks. One of the reasons why we're getting back on track in our budgeting season with our legislative breakfast and our virtual. Last year it was way off, and so it threw us for a loop, and now we're back on track. So that's another tick towards a little bit of normalcy. So thank you for reminding me of that. And I wish you the best and stay healthy.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. So I think we've had our opportunity to hear some strong statements from our legislators. I want to remind everyone that at this point, we will move on to the MBLC, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners call to action, and Mary Ann Kluggish, the chair of the board, will be speaking on their behalf.
Thank you, Jennifer. A special thank you to legislators for being here, and Representative Pignatelli and Senator Comerford. You were terrific. Thank you. James Lonergan went through the legislative agenda, and there's more information available on the website. Now it's up to you. Don't let this session be the end of it. Attending today is just the beginning. If you haven't been in touch with your legislators yet, your advocacy should begin now. A few years ago, my state rep told me, if I don't hear from you, I have to figure everything is okay. Think about what that means. There are thousands of competing demands. What message are you passively sending your legislators if you don't contact them? You've seen the legislative agenda. You all know why funding networks is important. You know why the MBLC needs funding, why MLS and delivery and training and what the Library for the Commonwealth does is important. You know how important the talking book libraries at Perkins and Worcester and the Mass Center for the Book are. And the last thing I need to tell you, the library community, is why state aid to public libraries is vital. But it's your job to tell legislator why library lines are important and what they mean to your library. When I testified at Joint Ways and Means with Director Lonergan this year, he went through each item in the legislative agenda, and I focused only on state aid. As he said, we're asking for $1 million increase in state aid this year from 12 to 13 million. One of the things I said at Ways and Means was that local libraries will mean more state aid to public libraries funding this year than ever before. When I was through, legislators asked us, how will libraries use that state money? So it's up to you to tell legislators how your library will use state aid. Tell them why you need it: to pay for your network membership, new electronic resources, mobile Wi-Fi, hotspots, fundraising, post-COVID related changes. Legislators need talking points from you to use to advocate with other legislators. And tell them why you want them to make state aid, line 7000-9501, a priority. Each year, your state reps can tell House Ways and Means what their top 3 priorities are. Over the years, I've come to the conclusion that asking someone to just support libraries is like asking them if they support apple pie, motherhood, and puppies. You have to ask legislators to make library funding a priority and ask them to tell that to Ways and Means. Don't forget that the total of all of the 7 line items in the legislative agenda is no more than 0.07% of the state budget, not even 0.1%, 0.07%. Libraries don't need big money to make a difference, but they do need enough money. So how do you get a legislator's attention for 0.07% of the state budget? There's only one way: by a lot of people being squeaky wheels that get the oil. It's a numbers game. When you go back to your board or staff meetings, get everyone else to write, call, or email their legislators. Every political office counts the number of calls, letters, emails they get for each issue. We've heard that telephone calls and letters get more points than emails. Emails are still great though. They add up, and you can include a link to the MBLC legislative agenda in your emails. You may have heard me say this before, but can we set a small goal of each community getting a minimum of just 10 people to call or email their legislators? Just 10 people from each town? Think about it. If you were a legislator and you got 250 emails, calls, cards, or notes and letters asking you to make funding for item X a priority, and you got, say, 12 contacts on libraries, which one are you going to pay the most attention to? Which one would become a priority, especially if those 250 contacts are asking you to make it a priority? We need the active participation of every single person here and more. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It only works with active participation. So please become squeaky wheels. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. I would like to also thank other commissioners who are attending today. I see Jan Resnick, Les Ball, and Mary Kronholm. I'm not sure if I missed anyone else, but I want to thank them for their hard work in keeping us moving forward in our advocacy. And at this point, we're going to take a moment to close this session. And anyone who's interested in staying on to learn a little bit more about the Engage process, which is a way for you to communicate directly with your legislators. The reminder that Commissioner Klugish gave is the same one that I will say. I'm being told that Vicky Biancello is also here, so I think I'm mispronouncing your name. My apologies, but thank you, Commissioner. Is that we would go and we would be visiting our individual legislators. Where I'm living now in Plymouth, I have a new senator that I need to reach out to, and I have a new representative, both of whom joined during COVID, and I did not have the opportunity to meet with them. So that's my goal today, is to give them a call. And I hope each one of you has also set a goal to contact at least one or two of your own legislators. And at this point, I would like to thank MLA support and MSLA support and all our committee members. And we wish you the best and stay healthy and continue to support libraries across the Commonwealth. Thank you. Will, are you available to move on to the Engage, or do you want to take a moment there?
Hi, everybody. I thought we'd just take just a minute. If people want to stick around, I will happily talk a little bit about Engage, which is our way of making it easy to contact our representatives and our senators. But please, if you're already familiar with it, you do not need to stick around for this. Again, thank you to everyone who attended today. Thank you to our legislators. Thank you to our advocates. I want to also say that Commissioner Klugish said that it is important to reach out, whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email. Our job at MLA on our legislative committee is to try to make that as easy as possible for you. And so one of the things that we have is Engage. And I'm going to try to show you how that works. There is a page where we provide all the information for you. This will be in a follow-up email that'll be coming out later today. And it is as easy as clicking a button. Legislative Day 2021 follow-up. Urge your legislators to support libraries. If you click Take Action there, it's going to ask you to fill out your name, and I will do this quickly as possible, just so you can see how easy it is. And I would also say that you can do this for both the town you work in and the town you live in. So if those are different places, you could hit 2 sets of your legislators. And one of the things that we have done is we've worked with the MBLC, and we've worked with different members of MSLA and MLA to get a message prepared for you. You put in your personal information there for your library or whatever, and it automatically pops up your state senator and your state rep. And we have a message already here with a priority for state aid to public libraries. It talks about what different libraries in the state use state aid for, but we would ask that you just type in how it's important to you. This is easy to edit. You can put in whatever you might want, and then you would simply submit it and it would shoot right out to your legislators. If you want to make things a little bit more personal, you have the option of doing that as well. We have a contact your legislators via email, which is a blank slate. It'll just tell you who they are, and you can send an email directly to them with whatever message you'd like. And then there's also contact your legislators by phone. Again, you put in your address and information, it'll tell you who your legislators are and what contact information they have supplied for contacting them. And then in the bottom right-hand corner of the page, we have handy dandy links to things we've talked about today, including a link to the legislative agenda, a direct link to talk about the benefits of state aid to public libraries, and a direct link to the top 5 reasons you should care about the MBLC legislative agenda. James Lonergan mentioned those, and so did Commissioner Kluggish. They're full of information. You can easily cut and paste things from that to send personal messages. And again, as Commissioner Kluggish recommended, ask your boards, ask the trustees, ask the friends of your library, get a couple of people on board to send messages. It really has worked in my community. I have an active board of trustees, and more than half of them reach out to our legislators on a regular basis, and it's a good exercise for them. If you have any questions about Engage or how it works, again, we'll send the link out later on today. Please contact either Jennifer or myself. We'll be happy to help you with that. And I'll just turn it over to Jennifer to finish things up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Will. So I guess we had talked about moving this along to make sure we valued people's time. So I will again say thank you, and please be in touch. The legislative committee is always building on advocacy. We have some other fish in the fire, or stokes in the fire, and we really want to strengthen what we're doing. So please let us know.